You're watching Buzz with Jess Lujan.
Good evening, Guam. I'm Jess Lujan. Welcome to this edition of The Buzz. Exciting show tonight. I have a good buddy, former colleague, of course,
Yes.
Senator Brant McCreadie. How you doing, brother?
I'm good.
Good to see you, man.
I guess it's a happy Thanksgiving.
Happy Thanksgiving.
Yeah, good to
Yes,
see you.
that's
Yes.
right. Good Halloween.
Slow, I'm getting old. I'm 45, so
Ugh,
not as good as they used to be.
I wish I was young as 45. I haven't taken my mask off, but anyway,
You look
hey,
good. You look
but
45.
thank you again for coming and taking
you.
time out of your busy schedule to come talk to us. I asked you to come in here today to talk about your introduction of Bill 201 and 202. Obviously, you were ahead of the game with this, and we talked in previous months, actually, in
on
your
your show?
introduction.
Yeah.
In trying to roll back the raises. Here's another attempt. Looks like there's another bill too that came right after your introduction to try to roll it back, but looks like it tried to trump what you were trying to do. So again, tell us let's go to the genesis of the pay increases and your method on, again, the rollback.
I think, as you said, one-upsmanship is a kind of a reoccurring theme in the legislature nowadays. But it happens, and if you're a senator, if you know what you're getting into, I think you have to be able to handle those type of things. As far as my bill, and I don't usually comment about other people's bills, Senator Nicholas, I wish him the best of luck, and I respect him, and I think that he does a great job as well as myself. And the key core message that I want to send to the people of Guam is, this isn't a change in position. I'm not defending a position, I'm explaining it. And I don't believe the senators, and I never did believe the senators should have given themselves a raise in 2010. I don't think they should have given themselves a raise last year. I don't believe they should have given themselves a retro check. I think they should pay it back. I think if you're not going to go all the way with making them pay back the raise and the retro, then you're contributing to something that's not direct and straightforward, and which is, if a normal person were to wrongfully take money from the government would take that money back. I don't think it should be any different for the senators.
Now, I read both your bills, 201 and 202. I also read Bill 203 as well. But let's talk about 201 and 202, since those are your bills. Now, again, 201 basically rolls back the senators' pay. Okay?
To 2010
Yeah,
status.
to 2010. Actually, even before then, because when I was out of the legislature, that's how much I was making.
55,307.
That's right. That's how much we were making. We were making that much.
55.
Anyway, that being the case, was a rollback that because there were basically two subsequent raises to where you're at right now, right?
Exactly. We've given ourselves basically two raises in a period of little less than 5 years. That doesn't send a positive message. It kind of illustrates distrust and dismay throughout the public. I understand that. I hear that. And I read somewhere, or somebody told me, somebody put that Senator McCreadie is a sportsman. He changes his position when he sees the writing on the wall. I've been a quarterback all my life. If the defense is playing something that's going to stop the play, you audible. But in this case, that's not the case. This is my fourth time that I've been trying to get the senator's salaries back to 55,307. I was on your show 3 years ago with then Senator Mike Limtiaco talking about Bill 3032, which did the same thing. My biggest opponent in that bill, Senator Nicholas.
Now, again, the Bill 201 basically just rolls back the senatorial pay. Now you have, and we'll get into
Bill 201 would roll back the senator's pay.
Yeah.
We are also going to add to that bill to pay back the raise.
To pay back.
To pay everything back.
Yeah. Now, when you go to 203, basically, he says, we're going to roll back everybody. All elected officials will be rolled back, senators, governor, lieutenant governor, directors, basically, and mayors at this point. Of course, KUAMU's covered you the other night, and you had a comment on that in regards to just the senators.
Accountability and responsibility start at home. And in this case, home is in the Senate. And the legislatures have to, first of all, clean their backyard before they try and either dirty or clean someone else's. That's the case here. We gave the mayors a raise, I believe, a year and a half ago. And in my perspective, are we going to hold it over their heads every time that we're not happy that they're making more money than us, or their job title is different than us? It's apples and oranges, Jesse. The mayors work hard every day. We gave them a raise. Should we take it back? Absolutely not. And is that what a proposal is for Bill 203? I guess is it 203?
203.
203.
Yeah.
I don't agree with that.
Now here's the thing that concerns me. You got three pieces of legislation. I think most at this point, again, to start off, it's grand to be able to lump everybody in one box. Like a one size fits all. Obviously, that's not the case, right?
Not the case.
Not the case. But as a minority, and I've tried being a minority senator. I've had bills where I've had to marry before because they were almost identical. You have components on your bill basically that were integrated into 2 or 3, but because of the fact that you're a minority, you'd be outvoted basically. That the chances of your bill to be a standalone bill, because they have components that will match or that will fit into 2 or 3, that you might get a public hearing, but it might not make it onto the floor. And what we're looking at is this a way to say, look, either everybody's going to vote to it's all or none, or is this a bill as well, like 2 or 3, is destined to be that? It's going to be voted down, and then you have another practice of not a rollback, and not even one component to be rolled back.
Well, I think the key component that you mentioned in there was working together, right? Marrying the bills.
Sure.
I've never received a call from Senator St. Nicholas saying, "Hey, that's something we can work with. Let's move forward on this." I mean, let's face it, I'm not worried about who gets the credit for the senators rolling back their salary. I'll go publicly tonight and say, Senator St. Nicholas doing a fantastic job. He should get all the credit. But having said that, all you got to do is pick up the phone and call and say, "Hey, listen, let's work together." We don't get that from this certain senator. It's been like that throughout the whole legislature. That type of attitude has cost this government from $12 to $30 million on a bond refinancing measure that Senator Rodriguez, the good senator who works very hard, had a solution for a bond refinance in February. Because of partisan politics and not wanting to work with your colleagues, the government and the people of Guam lost nearly $30 million.
We saved millions, but we lost $30 million.
We lost $30 million. That's unacceptable. So when you talk about working together, reaching across party lines, that's the only way we can be successessle, Jess, and you know this. I'm speaking to the choir here. You've been a committee chairman,
and that's why I'm I'm not as optimistic that your bill will be heard at this point. I mean, it will be heard, but whether we make it before, because of the fact that you're a minority at this point.
I mean, I think you're right, and then at some point it could be wrong, because if you look at the voting record, every bill that I have sent to the legislature in session, 100% of my bills have been passed.
Okay, so your record is
good. My record speaks for itself. I have no problem working with Democrats and Republicans. I think that's the only way we move forward.
But where I'm concerned with this, Senator, is this again. When you lump everybody in one thing, right? And obviously, based on your bill, your introduction of the bill, if you lump everybody in, you're probably not going to vote in favor of that. If it's married, or the only bill that makes it to the floor, and if 2 or 3, or something like 2 or 3 makes it to the floor, and has one of your components, of course, the rollback of the senatorial thing, and you're opposed to, of course, the rollback from the mayors. Now, if 2 or 3 holistically makes it to the bill, then they probably won't garner your vote in that, because you say, wait a minute, we gave them the raise. They didn't ask for it. We gave them the raise. Why should take it away?
I think 203 is incomplete as well, because 203 doesn't put in that component that pays the retro back and pays the salary back. How are you going to now admit that you were wrong in taking a raise, and you revert your salary back to 55,307, but then you're going to say, but the retro, I'm sorry, I don't think I should pay it back, or the raise, I shouldn't pay it back. If you're going to admit that the raise shouldn't have happened, then I hope you're ready to pay it back.
Now, what component you can have, it's through legislative resolution, right? To pay back the retro. How is that going to work out?
you could work it out as an option. You can opt in or opt out, or you can put a shall rather than a may. At this point, I'm working with the shall.
Okay, now that will exclude, I mean, that would basically only be applicable to
The people that are in office.
right now.
Yes.
So it won't be applicable to the ones who chose not to run or the ones who
voted out.
who were voted out,
Yes,
right?
yes.
Okay, and so it gives them an option.
It gives,
An
well,
option
that's,
whether-
obviously it's still in the vetting process, so the Senate can make their case to try and scratch the whole thing. I don't think that's the answer. We should pay it back. If especially Jesse, if you're now conceding that we should revert back to 2010 salary status.
Yeah.
What are you saying about the extra money that you got all these years?
Yeah.
Yeah, it just doesn't work that way, Jess.
Yeah. Different when it's applicable to you, right?
It's very different, but I think we should follow the same guidelines and rules that everybody else follows.
Same
We
rules
should have no exception.
Same rules for all the players, right?
Exactly.
Yeah. We're going to take a quick break, pay some bills right now, Brent. When we come back, we don't have too much time, but in yesterday's, there's an article that Senator Senegosa wrote that basically said, this is purely politics and basically on your standings on the last two elections. Basically, he said that's why you're doing this. But we'll address that when we come back. Okay?
Sure.
Be right back.